se puede. Yes, we can. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Let me begin by asking everybody to give a huge round of applause to Rosa Mendoza for all the great work that she does. I want to thank Pastor Joel Gutierrez for the invocation, and Alan Dora, who's the Nevada Chair of Veterans for Obama, for doing the pledge. Please give them a big round of applause. I want to thank all the Democratic elected officials and candidates who are here. We need Democrats elected up and down the ballot this November here in Nevada. You know, it's always good to be back in Vegas. Although the only problem is these days, what happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas. You know, I can't just go into the play some slots, because I got these people following me around all the time. My wife thinks that's okay, though. Go, Michelle. You know, by the way, if you guys want to sit down, it's hot out here. Go ahead and sit down, everybody. Come on, go ahead, sit down. You guys, you can't sit down. You all, feel free. Feel free, feel free. So, this has been a difficult day, in a difficult week, in a difficult year. Some of you may have read that today we had a bomb go off in an embassy in Yemen, a terrorist attack, and our hearts go out to the family of the security guards who are there. No Americans, thankfully, were killed, but innocents were killed, and it's a reminder once again of the battle we have to fight against terrorism. We had a train wreck in Los Angeles that took so many lives. We have had a hurricane this week that follows on a hurricane a couple of weeks before. And right now, as we speak, there are tens of thousands of people who are not yet back in their homes, who don't have electricity, may have no place to keep their groceries, who don't have a home to go back to. So there have been a lot of storms this week, but obviously the one that's getting most attention today is the storm on Wall Street, where we have seen events that show the stakes in this election could not be higher. They could not be clearer. You know, we are in the midst of the most serious financial crisis in generations. 3 of America's 5 largest investment banks have failed or been sold off in distress. Our housing market is in shambles. I don't need to tell you that here in Las Vegas. You have the highest foreclosure rate of anywhere in the nation. Monday brought the worst losses on Wall Street since the day after September 11th. We had comparable losses today, and we also learned today that the Fed had taken the unprecedented action to prevent the failure of one of the largest insurance companies in the world from causing an even larger crisis. So, while we don't know all the details of the arrangement with AIG, the Federal Reserve has to ensure that the plan protects the families that count on insurance. And it should bolster our economy's ability to create good-paying jobs and help working Americans pay their bills and save their money. What we must not do is bail out the shareholders or management of AIG when you've got people all throughout Nevada who are struggling every day to make their car payment, to make their house payment, who they've been going through their own quiet storm for far too long. You know, everywhere you look, the economic news is bad. But for so many Americans, this isn't really news at all. 600,000 workers have lost their jobs since January. The Hispanic community, this guy right here, the Hispanic community has been especially hard hit. Home values are falling. Your paychecks don't go as far as they used to. It's never been harder to save or retire, to buy gas or groceries. And if you put it on a credit card, well, you know, they probably already raised your rates. In so many cities and towns across America, it feels as if the dream that so many generations have fought for is slowly slipping away. Now, I have every confidence that we can steer ourselves out of this crisis because that's who we are. That's what we've always done as Americans. But the one thing I do know is this: we can't steer ourselves out of this crisis if we're heading in the same disastrous direction. We can't steer ourselves out of this crisis using the same old method. We can't steer ourselves out of the crisis if the new driver is getting directions from the old driver. And that's what this election's all about. You know, this has been an interesting week for John McCain. It's been really interesting to watch him respond to this economic news. Now think about it. His first reaction to this crisis on Monday was to stand up and repeat a line that is one of his favorites throughout this campaign. He said, quote, "The fundamentals of our economy are strong." That's what he said. Now his campaign must have realized that this probably wasn't the smartest thing to say on the day of the biggest financial meltdown that we've seen in a long time. So they sent him back out a few hours later to clean up his remarks. But it sounds like maybe he got a little carried away, because yesterday Senator McCain actually said that if he's president, then he's going to take on, and I quote, "the old boys network in Washington." That's what he said. He's going to take them on. I'm not making this up. Now think about this. This is someone who's been in Congress for 26 years. This is someone who put 7 of the most powerful lobbyists in Washington in charge of his campaign. And now he tells us that he's the one who will take on the old boys network in Washington. What's wrong with this picture? The old boys network, you know, in the McCain campaign, that's called a staff meeting. All right. So you know, this is not the end of the new and improved change agent John McCain. He went on to say how angry he is at the greedy corporate interests on Wall Street. He's really angry at them. He is so angry that he wants to punish them by giving them $200 billion more in tax breaks. He's really going to shake things up. And, you know, if you're not careful, he might even give them some more tax breaks for shipping jobs overseas. So, all right, so we're not finished. Senator McCain then bragged about how, as chairman of the Commerce Committee in the Senate, he had oversight of every part of the economy. Well, all I can say to Senator McCain is, nice job. Nice job. I mean, look, where is he getting these lines? The lobbyist running his campaign? Maybe it's Phil Graham. Phil Graham, the man who was one of the architects of deregulation in Washington that helped cause the mess on Wall Street in the first place, and who also happens to be the architect of McCain's economic plan and one of his chief advisors. Now, you will remember Phil Graham. He's the guy who said that we're just going through a mental recession and called the United States of America a nation of whiners. All right, we're not yet done. Then, I'm not making this up. Then you can't make this up. It's like a Saturday Night Live routine. So, then yesterday, Senator McCain's big solution to the crisis we're facing is, put on your seatbelts, a commission. A commission. You know, that's Washington speak for we'll get back to you later. Let me tell you, folks, we don't need a commission to figure out what happened. We know what happened. Too many in Washington and on Wall Street weren't minding the store. CEOs got greedy. Lobbyists got their way. Politicians sat on their hands until it was too late. We don't need a commission to tell us how we got into this mess. We need a president who will lead us out of that mess, and that's why I'm running for president of the United States of America. You know, John McCain can't talk enough about how greedy Wall Street is, but he's not offering a plan to solve it. How he's going to take on that old boys network in Washington. At this rate, by the end of the week, him and Phil Graham are going to be on a picket line somewhere, planning to storm the Treasury with torches and pitchforks. Come on. And the reason I make this point is not because I fault Senator McCain for all the problems we're facing right now, but I do fault him for the economic philosophy that he's followed for the last 26 years. It's George Bush's philosophy. It's Dick Cheney's philosophy. It's a philosophy that says that we should give more and more to those with the most and hope that prosperity trickles down. It's a philosophy that says even the most common sense regulations are unnecessary and unwise. We shouldn't meddle in the marketplace. It's a philosophy that lets Washington lobbyists shred consumer protections, to distort our economy so it works for the special interests, so that predatory loans can be given to folks unwittingly who might end up losing their home. Well, let's be clear, what we've seen in the last few days is nothing less than the final verdict on this philosophy. It is a philosophy that has failed, and I am running for president because the dreams of the American people cannot be endangered anymore. It's time to put an end to the broken system in Washington that is breaking the American economy. It's time for change that makes a difference in your lives. You know, John McCain and I have a different way of measuring the fundamentals of the economy. I know that the fundamentals that I use to measure economic strength are whether we're living up to that fundamental promise that has made this country great, that America is a place where you can make it if you try, that everyone should have the chance to live out their American dream. I know I wouldn't be standing here without that promise. I know that's the promise we have to keep once again. You know, when I talk to young veterans who've come back from Iraq or Afghanistan, I see my grandfather who signed up after Pearl Harbor. He marched in Patton's army. He was rewarded by a grateful nation with a chance to go to college on the GI Bill. I wouldn't be standing here if a nation had not given him a chance to go to college. In the face of that young student I meet who can't afford to go to college or is taking care of a sick family member who's sleeping 3 hours because they've got to work the night shift, I think about my mom who raised my sister and me while on her own, trying to work for her degree. She once had to go on food stamps, but was still able to send us to the best schools in the country. You know, when I listen to another worker tell me that his factory is shut down, I remember all those men and women on the south side of Chicago, black, white, Hispanic, who I fought alongside for 2 decades ago after the local steel plants had closed. And we set up job training programs, and we set up after-school programs, and we tried to rebuild a community that had been broken. Those people are my heroes. Those are the stories that shape me. It's on their behalf that I intend to win this election and keep the American promise alive. And understand, you know, one of the things you've got to always look at is what does an elected official do, not just on the day of a crisis, not just during election time, but what have they done in the past? You know, unlike Senator McCain, it didn't take a crisis on Wall Street for me to understand that folks are hurting out on Main Street. 2 years ago, I introduced legislation to stop mortgage fraud and transactions that promote risk and abuse. It was 1 year ago that I called on our Treasury Secretary and our Fed Chairman to bring every stakeholder together and find a solution to the subprime mortgage meltdown before it got worse so that people could stay in their homes. In March, when John McCain was saying, "I'm always for less regulation," I called for a new 21st century regulatory framework to restore accountability and transparency and trust in our financial markets. So I've got a track record. I'm not a Johnny-come-lately. I didn't just show up yesterday and start calling for change. I've been talking about change for 2 years now. I didn't just read a poll and decide, oh, this is a change election. I believe that our free market has been the engine of America's great progress. It's a market that's created a prosperity that is an envy of the world. It's rewarded investors and risk takers and small business people who have made America a beacon of science and technology and entrepreneurship and discovery. But that American economy has worked because we've helped guide the market's invisible hand with a higher principle that America prospers when all Americans can prosper. That's why we've put in place rules of the road to make competition fair and open and honest. That's why we've got to make sure that Wall Street maintains our public trust. It's time to get serious about oversight. It's time to get serious about real regulations that are going to prevent the kind of mess we're seeing right now, and that's what I will do as President of the United States of America. But listen, we can't just cure Wall Street without helping Main Street, without helping you. That's why I've said to jumpstart job creation, I proposed a $50 billion emergency economic plan that would save 1 million jobs by rebuilding our infrastructure, repairing our schools, helping our states and local governments avoid damaging budget cuts. To help people stay in their homes, I want to change our bankruptcy laws. I don't know if you're aware of this. If you only own one home, then if you go bankrupt, you can't modify your payments in a bankruptcy court. The judge can't modify the situation so you can stay in your home. But if you own 7 homes, then the judge can, if you go bankrupt, the judge can modify payments for your 2nd and your 3rd home and your 4th home and your 5th home and 6th home, your 7th home. That's not fair. That's not right. So we're going to change it. And I'm going to offer a tax credit to struggling families that will take 10% off your mortgage interest rate, because you deserve the same break that folks in wealthy homes do. We'll set up a home score system that's going to help every consumer figure out whether they're going to be able to make their mortgage payments before they buy their house. And I will crack down on predatory lenders who all too often target the African American community, target the Hispanic community with tough new penalties that will treat mortgage fraud like the crime that it is. But the most important thing I'll do as president is restore opportunity for all Americans. And we need to recapture that fundamental American spirit. Now, to get our economy growing, we need to make sure that if you work hard and you play by the rules, then you are going to be able to get ahead. That you can find a job that pays the mortgage. That you are able to get your child into the school and the college that they want to go to. That if you get sick, you won't go bankrupt. That your kids can get the kind of education, and that we can leave a legacy of greater opportunity to future generations. That's the change the American people need. Change means a better life for you. Change means a tax code that doesn't reward the lobbyists who wrote it, but the workers and small businesses who deserve it. So I'm going to stop giving tax breaks to corporations that ship jobs overseas. We'll start giving them to companies that create good jobs right here in Nevada, right here in the United States of America. I will eliminate capital gains taxes for small businesses and startups. That's how we'll grow our economy and create the high-wage, high-tech jobs of tomorrow. I will cut taxes, listen now, I will cut taxes for 95% of working families. You know, John McCain and his campaign, they like to run ads saying, I'm going to raise taxes. It's not true. They're not telling the truth. What he doesn't tell you, what he doesn't want you to know, is that under my plan, tax rates will actually be less than they were under Ronald Reagan. If you make less than $250,000 a year, you will not see your taxes increase one single dime. In fact, I offer 3 times the tax relief for middle-class families as Senator McCain does. Because in an economy like this, the last thing we should do is raise taxes on the middle class, on working people. Here's what else change means. I will finally keep the promise of affordable, accessible health care for every single American. I know this is a critical issue. All across America, everywhere I go, I meet people without health insurance. 1 out of 3 Latinos have no health insurance. 1 out of 3. And these are working folks. Almost a comparable number of African American people don't have health insurance. You know, all across America, we are seeing people who are working every day but don't have the kind of health insurance that a country this wealthy should provide. All across America, people of every color are struggling in sometimes 2, 3 jobs and still don't have health care. So here's what I'm going to do. If you've got health care, my plan's going to lower your premiums. If you don't, you'll be able to get the same kind of coverage that members of Congress give themselves. And I will stop insurance companies from discriminating against those who are sick and need care the most. That is a commitment that I'm going to make when I'm president, and we're going to do it in my first term in office. But you know what? It all starts with having a job. What's more fundamental than having a job? We've got to create the new jobs of the future. That's why one of the centerpieces of my economic plan is transforming our energy economy. We need a new energy economy. We need to tap our natural gas reserves and invest in clean coal technology and find safe ways to harness nuclear power. And we need to create auto companies right here that can retool so that the fuel-efficient cars of the future are built in America, not in Japan, not in South Korea, made right here in the US of A. And I want to make it easier for Americans to afford these new cars, but I also want to invest $150 billion over the next decade in affordable, renewable sources of energy, in wind power and biofuels. And right here in Nevada, let's make solar power work right here and put people back to work. We can create millions of new jobs that save our environment. The jobs pay well, and they can't be outsourced. And now's the time to finally meet our moral obligation to provide every child a world-class education. Because it will take nothing less to compete in the global economy. I refuse to accept that overcrowded, underfunded schools are the best we can give our kids. I refuse to accept 4 in 10 Hispanic students dropping out of high school. I know we can do better than that. So I'm going to recruit an army of new teachers and pay them higher salaries and give them more support. In exchange, I will ask for higher standards and more accountability. And we will keep our promise to every young American. If you commit to serving your country or your community, in the Peace Corps, in the military, working in a veterans home, teaching in an underserved school, then you will be able to afford a college education. That is a commitment. We're going to pass the DREAM Act. We're going to provide tuition tax credits. We've got a new GI Bill. Every young person in America should be able to go to college. This is the kind of change we need. The kind of bottom-up growth and innovation that's going to advance the American economy by advancing the dreams of all Americans. That's real change. Change isn't a slogan. Change isn't doing the same things and calling it change. Change isn't adopting the same tax policies, the same economic policies, the same healthcare policies, the same policy in Iraq, the same spending $10 billion a month over there, even though they've got a $79 billion surplus. when we could be spending that money rebuilding America and putting people back to work right here in the United States. That's not changed. This is not a game. Nevada, this is not a game. You can't just say anything or do anything and make stuff up. There's got to be something there that's real, that's going to give people some help, that's going to help them live out their dreams. Now, I know times are hard. I know they're hard. They're hard here in Nevada. They're hard here all across the country. They're hard in Michigan. They're hard in Ohio. They're hard in Pennsylvania. They're hard in my home state of Illinois. I know they're hard, and I'm not going to pretend that the change we need will come without a cost. Although I will tell you that I make sure that we can pay for every program I've proposed in a fiscally responsible way so that we're not loading up debt for our children and our grandchildren. I know that we're going to have to work hard to stop those who want to privatize Social Security. I disagree with John McCain on that. I think your retirement should be sacrosanct. I think, by the way, that your pensions should be protected ahead of CEO bonuses if a company goes into bankruptcy. I know that we're going to have to overcome our doubts and our divisions and the determined opposition of powerful special interests before we can truly reform a broken economy and advance opportunity. But I'm running for president because we can't afford 4 more years of the same. We can't afford 4 more years of an economy that, of an economic policy that thinks it's good for Wall Street, definitely is bad for Main Street, and ends up wrecking both. I don't want to wake up 4 years from now and find out more Americans fell out of the middle class, that more families lost their savings. I don't want to see that our country failed to invest in our ability to compete, that our children's future was mortgaged on another mountain of debt, that more young people can't go to college, that we've got more homeless veterans on the streets, that our financial markets failed to find a firmer footing, that more people out of work. That is not the future I want, not for my children, not for your children, and not for America. This time, this election is our chance to stand up and say, enough is enough. This is our time because we're Americans. We have done this before. Time and again, we've battled back adversity by recognizing that we have a common stake in each other. Look at this audience. People from every background, every age, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, young, old, rich, poor, gay, straight. This is America. And that's why our economy hasn't just been the world's greatest wealth generator. It's bound us together. It's created jobs. It's made the dream of opportunity a reality for generation after generation of Americans. And now it falls to us. But I need you to make it happen. If you want the next 4 years looking like the last 8, then I'm not your candidate. If you just want to replace the old driver with the same one going in the same direction over a cliff, I'm not your man. But if you want real change, if you want an economy that rewards work, that works for Main Street and Wall Street, if you want tax relief for the middle class and millions of new jobs and a new energy economy, if you want health care you can afford so our children can compete, a better education, then I ask you to knock on some doors and make some phone calls. Talk to your friends. Talk to your neighbors. And I especially want people who haven't registered before, who haven't voted before. I want the Latinos who are here, I want you to talk to your neighbors and your friends. You can make a difference in this election if you turn out to vote equal to your numbers. Some of the closest contests are going to be determined not just here, but in New Mexico and Colorado. We've got to have people who finally recognize that if you want serious immigration reform, if you want a DREAM Act, if you want to make sure that everybody is included in the American dream, that we've got to vote. We've got to flex our muscles. This is what's at stake in this election. But I hope all of you are up to the task. Change in America doesn't happen from the top, it happens from the bottom up. You are America's future. I am confident that if you do everything you can do, if you are willing to roll up your sleeves with me, if you're willing to march with me, if you are willing to go block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood, city by city, state by state, then not only are we going to win Nevada, but we are going to win this election. And you and I together, we are going to change this country, and we are going to change the world. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Yes, we can. Si se puede. Yes, we can. Si se puede. Yes, we can. Si se puede. Let's go change the world. Thank you, everybody. God bless you.